G'day folks, welcome to this preview of Enemy Action Kharkov. This will be released in Q3 of 2021. It is a John Butterfield design. It has the solitaire system, a two-player system, and it is being published by Compass Games. It is currently available for pre-order on the Compass Games website for $82 US, a special pre-order discount down from $119. We have some limited information available on the game, and I wanted to talk about this game because I love John Butterfield designs. He's one of my favourite designers, and Enemy Action Ardennes is just it is out of this world in terms of the depth of the design and AI mechanisms behind it. It is certainly a very complex solitaire game. But you have to appreciate the work that John Butterfield has put into his designs, the meticulous detail in terms of everything on the map, the hold points, the movement, the advanced arrows, the retreat arrows, all these details. And having played through this a number of times, I'm super excited about the impending arrival of Enemy Action Kharkov, and I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about what we might see within this game. We know that, again, John Butterfield will incorporate three systems: a two-player system, a German solo system, and of course a Russian solo system as well. We know that it will be a card-facilitated game, so this will be much like Enemy Action Ardennes, which I conveniently have set out and being played in front of me here, where you'll draw a hand of cards and you will use these cards for various purposes. So, for example, this is a divisional card. It consists of two 1st SS Panzer Corps divisions. You can, the cards are used for all three types of games: German solo, in this case Allied solo, or the two-player game. For the German solo, you can use the G actions. For the Allied solo, you use the A actions. And for the two-player version, you use the 2P actions. There's not many of those. And for any of these game versions, you can use the arrowed actions. So, for example, cards let you deploy reserves. They let you activate these particular formations named on these cards. They can let you trigger events. You can often activate any one unit once per day. Among various other sort of features of these cards, the cards can also be used for combat activations when you're engaged in combat. We know that in Enemy Action Kharkov, you'll be using the same system, drawing a hand of cards, using primary and supplementary cards to activate formations, moving these formations around this hex-based grid in the broader Kharkov area. We know the timescale has changed. Ardennes is one turn per day, the 16th of December, 17th of December, and so forth. Kharkov shifts this and seems to draw back the scale to a larger theatre. I mentioned the card facilitated or assisted, driven perhaps, hex-based units with this automated system of movement. We know also that the combat system will be much the same. This has seen mixed reactions. It's probably one of the most contentious issues with Enemy Action Ardennes. Some people just don't like drawing chits, they want a CRT. But the way this works is, in Enemy Action Ardennes, you draw a number of chits, first of all, equal to the defender's steps. So if you're looking at a single two-step unit, you'll draw two counters from the cup, and you'll look at the criteria that are applied to that combat. Then once you've drawn up to steps, you may continue drawing counters up to your maximum limit. And your maximum limit is the number of units you have participating in that attack, plus modifiers for elite units, number of steps involved among various units, combat card plays, and all these other things. So you might say 5 extra counters. You'll draw one at a time, 5 extra counters from the cup, and apply those counters. Once you've figured out among all these activations which counters apply, you look at the attacker and defender hits. So in this case, if these are the two counters that are applied, which is not uncommon, you'll have one attacker hit and one defender hit. You then resolve these hits, and hits can be retreats, they can be step losses. If you retreat too far, you become dispersed. So we know that the combat mechanism in Enemy Action Kharkov is going to be very similar. It'll use those same chit draws, it'll use the same fundamental applying of hits, to combat operations in Kharkov. But we also know that there are going to be some differences. So the Compass Games website at the present lists that there are features specific to Kharkov, such as Soviet partisans, offensive command quality, withdrawal under fire, armour depletion, Ben Manstein's Rochard, rapid deployment, Soviet forward support, and spring thaw in and mud conditions. Now we also have samples of the counter sheets, and these look very similar to the counter sheets from Enemy Action Ardennes. We have the combat values on these units, we have their divisional core formations, we have the activation numbers at the bottom centre, and their movement values on the right. We also have the similar counter chits with similar features: defender armour only, disperse unsupplied abilities, all these kind of things look very similar. There's a lot of Soviet garrison counters. We also have some interesting terrain features such as heavy mud, light mud, frozen, and that looks to be the ground conditions that I spoke about. The counter sheets also list activated counters, and I'm assuming here that this refers to the restrictions on consecutive activations. Basically, you can't activate the same formation or core 2 impulses in a row. Now, in Enemy Action Ardennes, you don't have anything to sort of remind you of these. And I am assuming that these counters are here to address that concern, to serve as reminders for people of what was activated, perhaps, such that you can be mindful of that in future turns. Now we also have some map samples available, and again this looks very similar to Enemy Action Ardennes. Again, the hex-based grid. You have perhaps a slightly reduced level of detail on the maps. In Enemy Action Ardennes, there were often multiple arrows for approach routes. You had a primary route and a secondary route, and then you had a blue withdrawal route. In Enemy Action Kharkov, you just have, in almost all these hexes, just a single black arrow. I assume indicating a movement route, but yeah, just the one per hex, as opposed to the often 3 arrows in Enemy Action Kharkov. Now beyond that, we have several different types of terrain. There's the clear, snowy terrain. There's what looks to be broken terrain, woods, there's some marsh, there are towns and cities, and then of course you have terrain features such as roads, minor rivers, and the Dnieper River with those big blue lines designate blocked crossings. There are also a number of improved position markers, and I anticipate they'll work the same as in Enemy Action Ardennes, where units with improved positions basically can take 1 additional hit before they need to satisfy hits on their unit. The art for this game was produced by Knut Grunitz, and look, I've spoken before about how much I love the art in John Butterfield designs. The map art and the counter and the cards, they're designed with a primary functional purpose in mind. All the data, the details presented on these maps helps drive the system, and I think John Butterfield and Knut Grunitz have done another wonderful job here in developing maps and counters and cards that are clear and functional. The criticism made of Butterfield designs in the past is that he doesn't produce the most beautiful maps in terms of sort of aesthetic details. They're often, people say, they're not the kind of maps that you want to sort of put on your bedroom wall. True, but they're the kind of maps that you can study for hours. You can look over and pore over the details and look at these advanced paths and routes to victory conditions. And I'm thinking here about the D-Day series, Enemy Action Ardennes, even RAF, the type of map that you can just look at and admire the level of detail. So this is another map that I'm looking forward to getting out. Okay, so folks, if you're a fan of John Butterfield solo designs, if you're a fan of Enemy Action Ardennes, check out Enemy Action Kharkov, currently available for pre-order from the Compass Games website. Keep in mind, this is a heavy design. It uses a very similar system with what seems to be that additional thematic and historical chrome and detail on top. Bear in mind, if you have not played this, it is heavy, it is complex. It has a very detailed AI system driving the AI actions in the solitaire game. Keep in mind, of course, that this is also a two-player game, as is Enemy Action Kharkov, and there's a possibility that two players can play this without need to worry about those AI actions. Hopefully this has been informative, giving you some impression of what Kharkov might be like. Again, thanks for watching, folks, and take care.